on your breath. A hydrogen goes through your head. Still the kid that doesn't like.
Hey there YouTube, it's Kurt here, and today I'm going to talk about a series I'm going to start. It's going to be called DIY Musicians, and it's all going to be about how to get your music down and recorded and getting it marketed to people with as little resources as possible. So really it's geared around how much talent you have and how much hard work you put into the effort without necessarily spending all this cash that you might not have. So the first thing I want to talk about is mastering. Now, there are a lot of mastering services out there when you upload a lot of tracks for electronic purposes or digital distribution. And you'll notice that a lot of these actually cost a lot of money. But if you're a do-it-yourself musician and you're already spending a lot of time doing your own mixing and getting your own levels right and doing a lot of your own cutting and all editing, all that jazz, essentially, if you do all that on your own already, there's really no point to getting your music mastered because you already probably have the skills to master your own music. If you already mixed it, you have the skills to do those already. Because in order to master something, you need a digital audio workstation. And that's the same thing you use essentially for all of your mixing. So there's really no point. I feel like it's really gimmicky that a lot of people try to give you mastering services. So unless you're already on a label and the label is basically doing all the recording for you, you probably have the knowledge to look up at least a couple YouTube videos and do the mastering yourself. Now, what's involved in mastering? If you're doing rock and roll music, really there's not that much involved in mastering. You don't need a lot to make your music sound a little bit more crisp, a little bit better. Basically, I would refer you to two things. A lot of people use limiters. Again, that's optional. You don't have to use a limiter. I did on our most recent work, and sometimes it just helps. It helps make things louder, and a lot of people are opposed to that, but I get it. You need a multi-band compressor. Now, what the multi-band compressor, it kind of ends up bringing a lot of your levels up, and it does fill out the sound a lot more without over-compressing it. Once you get your ratios right on the compressor, what will happen is if you think the track needs a little bit more air or a little bit more mids, it'll bring that up. It can really bring the cymbals out. And as opposed to a regular compressor, which tends to smush everything together, this can be a really cool tool if you use it right. It'll make everything sound more distinct. So that's the difference. You don't really want to just compress your final track. You want to use a multi-band compressor. That's really the key. But if you use those two things and you use them correctly, what should end up you should end up having great sounding music, and you really shouldn't worry about that much more, in my opinion, because that'll give your music a great raw tone, and that'll and if you write great music, that'll be essentially all you need if your music is already mixed correctly. So that's just my opinion on the topic. If you have anything to add to that, feel free to add that in the comment section. But again, I really appreciate it, guys. I got lots of plans coming up. But again, my band's American Time Machine. Feel free to give us a listen. We're on Spotify and everywhere else on the internet, of course. But I appreciate it. So thanks, guys.
A cigarette is on your breath. A hydrogen goes through